This is a story that's sure to pull at your heartstrings. Tuna and Kiet have a long history together, and like many relationships, theirs was complicated. For so long, the truth was buried, hidden by secrets and misunderstandings. But when Tu Nha finally opened up and shared the truth, it was too late. Kiet had already fallen apart, overwhelmed by everything he hadn't known. It's a painful reminder that timing is everything. Sometimes saying the right words at the wrong time can hurt more than help. This story isn't just about Tuna and Kiet. It's about the importance of facing the truth, no matter how difficult, and the consequences that come when you wait too long. In a small, humble cottage, the chirping of birds filled the air, accompanied by a gentle breeze. Tuna woke up, arms wide open to welcome the new day. Following her usual routine, she brushed her teeth and washed her face, trying her best to shake off the sleepiness and prepare herself for the long day ahead. She sat down at her small bamboo table, lost in thought for a moment. Should I renovate the house or maybe raise some chickens? She asked herself. It was a simple question, but it carried the weight of her daily struggles and the decisions she faced. As she looked out the window at her little daughter, who was still fast asleep, she silently promised herself she would work harder no matter what. Tu Nha knew that every choice she made, whether it was about their home or how to provide for her family, had to be carefully considered. She didn't have much, but she always found a way to make things work. Her love for her daughter and her determination to give her a better life drove her forward. Every day was a step closer to building the future she wanted, and she was ready to face any challenge that came her way. On a narrow path, Tu Nha walked carefully toward the garden, her footsteps light yet deliberate. The garden was filled with ripe watermelons, their heavy green skin glistening in the sunlight. She took her time, selecting each one with care, inspecting them closely to make sure they were just right. After a moment, she picked one, cut it open, and smiled as she tasted the sweet, juicy flesh. "This one's perfect," she said softly to herself. "I'll bring it home and share it with Kiet." Her words were simple, but they were filled with so much love and affection. Tu Nha didn't have much, but every small gesture she made carried the weight of her heart. She wasn't just picking fruit. She was choosing something special to share with the person she cares about. There was something so pure in these quiet, everyday moments. No grand gestures, just the simple joy of giving. The watermelons, heavy and round, were no easy task to carry. But Tu Nha, with her small frame and quiet strength, didn't mind the weight. She picked them up one by one. The burden of their size and weight pressed down on her, but she didn't hesitate. Every step she took was a step toward her home, toward Kiet. She didn't care that the task was difficult. She knew that the joy of sharing what she had was worth every ounce of effort. When Tu Nha returned, the sun began to set, casting a warm golden light over the fields. She carried the watermelons with determination and silent love, knowing that even the smallest actions had a lot of meaning. It was not how much she had, but how she gave. And for her, that was enough. Finally, she reached the market. In a small corner, she set up her watermelons to sell. The locals began to support her, buying them one by one. Soon, there were only a few watermelons left. Tu Nha smiled and said, "We're almost there. Just a little more, let's continue." When her mission was almost complete, she hurried to pick up her daughter. She entered the house with a joyful expression, eager to see her little girl. Her daughter had been taken care of by Miss Lan all day, and Tu Nha approached her with warmth. "Did she cry today, Miss Lan?" Tu Nha asked softly, her voice full of concern. "No, she's very good. Are you tired after work?" Miss Lan replied with a smile. Tu Nha's words were full of concern, reflecting her loving nature. She had gone out to pick watermelons during the day, so she left her daughter in Miss Lan's care. The love she showed through her questions and actions was evident in every moment. When Tu Nha returned home, she didn't waste any time. She immediately got to work, starting with the heavy water containers she'd need to irrigate her small vegetable garden. It had been a long day, and she was already feeling the fatigue setting in. But she took a quick break, catching her breath for a moment before diving right back into the next task: pulling weeds. You could see the determination in her face, the kind of quiet strength that comes from someone who never stops pushing, no matter how tired they are. Every movement she made showed her commitment to the land she cared for and the life she was building. There was no complaining, just a steady focus on the work ahead. For Tu Nha, every small task was part of something bigger. It wasn't easy, but it was her life, her choice, and she was going to do whatever it took to make it work. Despite the exhaustion, she kept going, knowing that the effort she put in today would make tomorrow just a little bit better. Her resilience was something to be admired, a reminder that hard work, even in its simplest form, always pays off. Tu Nha was relaxing in the yard, soaking in the golden glow of the afternoon sun, filtering through the lush trees. Suddenly, she spotted Kiet, an old friend, walking toward her. Her face lit up and her heart swelled with joy. Kiet, with his warm smile, made his way over to her. Tu Nha. Kiet, you're here. It's been so long I've missed you. She invited him to sit down and poured him a glass of cool water. As she looked at him, Tu Nha felt like all the struggles and stresses of life just melted away. She laughed and said, Tu Nha, I'm gonna grab a melon from inside. It's so refreshing, you're going to love it. She quickly went inside, grabbed a big melon, and sliced it up before bringing it back out to him. They laughed and joked, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. But then, Tu Nha suddenly grew quiet. Her smile faded, her expression distant, and her eyes turned contemplative. Kiet, hey, what's wrong? Why did you go quiet all of a sudden? Tu Nha took a deep breath and then turned to him, her eyes filled with the sadness she had been hiding for so long. Tu Nha, my ex-husband, he's come back. Her words hit Kiet like a ton of bricks. He stared at her, utterly stunned, trying to process what she had just said. Kiet, wait, what? People who are dead don't just come back to life. You're kidding, right? But Tu Nha's voice was calm, serious. There was no sign of joking in her tone. She lowered her gaze and a tear slipped down her cheek. The air grew thick with tension, the silence almost unbearable. Kiet kong biet noi gi. He stood there, trying to make sense of it all. Slowly, he realized that what she was saying was true. Her ex-husband had really returned after all these years. Kiet, I don't know what to say, but you're not alone. I'll always be here for you. Whatever you need, I'm here to help. Although Kiet was in shock, he did his best to stay strong and support her, but his eyes betrayed the pain he was feeling inside. He gazed deeply into hers, and before he knew it, a tear rolled down his own cheek. Kiet, thanks for telling me. Maybe now I can understand even just a little what you've been through. Tu Nha lowered her head, feeling a weight in her chest like it was being squeezed. She glanced at her young daughter playing nearby, her mind wandering. Tu Nha, I wonder if Uncle Kiet will still come visit us. She couldn't help but wonder if things would change now. Would Kiet still be the same close friend she had relied on for comfort? As she looked into his eyes, a heavy weight settled in her heart. The road ahead would likely be even harder, but at least she knew that Kiet would always be there, a steady presence in her life. Tu Nha sat quietly, watching Kiet's figure grow smaller in the distance. She felt a sense of relief wash over her, knowing she had finally shared everything that had been weighing on her heart. It was a hard truth, but it was out there now. She stood on the narrow path watching him go, and for the first time in a while, she felt like a burden had been lifted. Kiet, however, walked slowly back home, his eyes clouded with sadness. With each step, it seemed like the weight of everything he had just learned was pressing down on him harder. He hadn't even had the chance to say what he needed to say to Tuna. Why? All the sacrifices, all the effort he'd put in, and now this unexpected twist. He muttered to himself as he walked, lost in his thoughts. Will Tuna go back to her ex-husband? He wondered aloud, his voice heavy with a deep sense of pain. The thought crushed him. I hadn't even had the chance to propose to her yet. His heart ached as he replayed the moments in his head. Why was this happening now? What had he done wrong? Kiet's frustration grew, and in a moment of anguish, he shouted out into the quiet night. Why is this happening? Why now? The emotional weight of everything was overwhelming. Kiet wasn't just dealing with the pain of losing a chance at love. He was grappling with the uncertainty of what the future held. The question of whether Tu Nha would return to her past, to the man who had once been a part of her life, haunted him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had been too late, that he hadn't been able to fight for them when it mattered most.
Câu chuyện này không chỉ nói về Từ Nhã và Kiệt mà còn nói về tầm quan trọng của việc đối mặt với